Adding in staccato and legato in your piano playing can really bring your pieces to life. Well, your piano teacher Tim here, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to play staccato and legato, as well as some helpful exercises so you can master them quickly. Okay, so what is staccato and legato? Well, staccato are these dots that are either above the note or below the note. It's really important that you don't use the dot that appears beside the note, because that is a dotted note, which is a note value. These are above or below, and quite simply, all you do with staccato notes is you play them short. So instead of like this, you're going to hit the notes like you're hitting a hot frying pan almost, coming right off of them. Or maybe like little raindrops or something like that. Legato, on the other hand, is designated by these arcing lines over many notes, and what that's going to tell you to do is to smoothly connect them. So basically, instead of playing them like this, staccato, you're going to be playing them where you're only going to lift up off the note you've just played as soon as you're playing that next note, and that creates a smoothness, or what we call slurring, between the notes. So you can think of like if you're slurring your speech, you're blending your words together. Maybe you aren't quite as articulate. These are called articulations. You're not quite as articulate as you would like to be. So maybe you need to add some staccatos into your speech. So adding these in can make a huge difference. I'm just going to play the first opening line of this piece, and I'm going to play it without any staccatos or legatos whatsoever. So here we go. So as you can see, it sounded pretty flat, but if I add in the staccatos and legatos where they are appropriately, it just adds so much more to it. So here's the good example. So as you can see, just that little detail made all the difference. Let's talk about a bit about phrasing. So whenever you have slur lines or legatos, this is to create what we call phrases. Or like in speech, phrases kind of blend together to make complete ideas that, or segmented ideas that when they all come together, they make a complete sentence or a coherent idea. And the legato is no different. So whenever you have a legato line, like you do here in the beginning of this piece, this is Pathetique Sonata Movement 3, by the way. See how there's an end to that slur line? Well, just like at the end of a phrase, like you would breathe or you'd put a comma or a period, you want to ever so slightly have a slight break in the sound there, and that just helps kind of break up the ideas into musical ideas that make sense. So that's what really legatos are all about. Without them, the music would just kind of run all together like a run-on sentence. Think about if you wrote a paragraph and didn't have any periods in it. Sure, you could maybe figure out what it was trying to say, but it would be confusing and just not as good. So that's the point of all of this. Another quick tip I have about legatos and phrases is that the first note in a phrase you want to hit with just slight more emphasis. If you think about when you're speaking, you're going to have more punch the first words that you speak, and then as you go further and further in the sentence without taking a break, your voice will start to get softer and softer. So I kind of like to add in just a tiny amount of an accent on that first note. Now for some easy exercises so you can get some practice doing this. So let's take a look here. The simplest exercise that we probably know are your scales, and if you don't know, a C major scale is just from one C to the next C and all the notes in between. Well, the first thing you want to do, just assuming you've learned them hands together, if not, get on that, is that you want to start playing them both hands staccato. Of course, you want to do as many scales as you know. Oops, messing up the fingering here. And go through them and play them all staccato. Once you do that, you get comfortable with that, play them legato. nicely smooth and connected together like that, and do all the ones you know. Then this is where it gets tricky, because a lot of times you won't just have staccato and then legato. You're literally going to have staccato in one hand and legato in another. So how should you practice with that? Well, let's go back to our scales. What I want you to do is I want you to start out. You're going to play right hand staccato, left hand legato. Now, to accomplish this, if you're new, what should you do? You should slow it down. So here we go. Whoops. I did pretty good. I know I've done this many times before, so I'll try a little faster if I can. Pretty good. Now, you would do that with a lot of the scales you know. Now I'm going to flip it. Now I'm going to do staccato, legato. So here we go. And by just practicing this with your scales, it's going to give you a lot of opportunity to really simply focus in on the staccato and the legato, or whichever way it is. Because if you're just learning your scales for the first time, you want to know your scales pretty well. So if you're learning that for the first time, you're going to be concentrating on the notes. You don't want that. You want something very simple you can play, even if it's a 5-note exercise like this. And then you come back down, and then doing them staccato and legato like that. So you can even simplify it further. The whole goal, though, is to have an exercise where you're concentrating just on the coordination of the staccatos, legatos, and not anything else. Okay, if you found the lesson helpful, make sure you smash that like button, because it lets other students know that this is a quality lesson that you can learn from as well. Okay, back to the lesson. Okay, I have a set of exercises which are perfect for what I'm talking about today, because as you can see, in one hand you have staccato, and then in the other hand you don't. You can actually kind of pretend that maybe those are slurred together, or if you want to have a little disconnect between each note, you can do that. But as you can see, there's staccato on one hand, legato on another. As you can see by number 3, it is actually staccato and legato, and a lot of them are like this actually. This is by Carl Czerny, by the way, and this is a wonderful set of exercises for a multitude of reasons. But in terms of getting that staccato and legato between each hands, I highly recommend these. These are also great because these are more like what you would see in an actual sheet of music. Rather than the scales. I mean, you will see scales like that, but this will start introducing a lot more things that are actually a lot more applicable, and things you will see more often. In today's lesson, we talked a lot about scales and how they can help you with staccato and legato. Make sure that you check out this playlist here of two-handed piano trainings that I've made. A lot of them have to do with scales, as well as other patterns that are actually going to help you, that you can apply to what we learned today as well. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe. You have all notifications turned on, because we have new lessons coming out all the time, and you don't want to miss a beat. It's been your piano teacher, Tim, here. Thanks for coming by today, and I'll see you, yes you, in the next lesson.